right. Impact. Now, this is not going to be a very long video. In fact, it's going to be exceptionally short. Because not much was here when it comes to matches. We only got 3 matches. Everything else is character building and story building for Bound for Glory. That is what this is. It is only for the story building and the character building. That's all we got here. But let's go for the matches. We get Matt Cardona versus Ryan Nimitz. Now, they've had some things going between them. To be honest, I'm not really feeling much between Ryan and Matt Cardona. Not really. This is more about Matt going to go up against Nick. That's what I think. After Bound for Glory. Because they're not setting it up for him now, as far as I can tell. It's just going to be eventually Matt will be going up against Nick Nimitz. Eventually. And that's probably going to be after Bound for Glory. Unless they're going to do it on a kickoff show. Which I'm kind of hoping not to. Because let's make it clear. It makes no sense to do it here because there's no build for it. And I'd rather see people that's on the kickoff show that have been somewhat built to have a match than Nick to be on the match. One of the first matches on the kickoff show. I just don't think he needs to be there, or a Matt Cardona either. I just don't think either one. That's just it. Now I know that he will, and this is Matt Cardona, he will be on NXT next week. So it just feels like he needs more. That's just me. Next match, JDC versus Ali. Now this does have some future determination for Bound for Glory, because whoever wins the match is the one who will be giving the advantage for their team, either Order 4 or the system. Now, it was a good match. Since he's been gone, at least he worked a bit on his health. And, well, technically, he's always been a decent wrestler, Johnny Curtis. He has been. Dirty Dangle's always been a good wrestler. He's not one of the greatest, but he's always been good. And in this situation, he looked good. But he did not win. He was not meant to win against Ali. Ali was meant to win. Due to the fact, if you watch Showdown, Ali gave a good performance against Ethan Page, but he got his ass handed to him. So I felt that if he lost here, he would have to win a Bound for Glory. And if he won here, there is still a chance he could win a Bound for Glory with Order 4, but it would be some type of screwy ending for him to win. And it could still happen, even if he had not won. But he did win here. And the key is going to be this. What is going to happen after Bound for Glory when it comes to Order 4 and the system? Something extra must be done on that first show after Bound for Glory. That's going to be the big question. What are they going to do? And I got this to say at the end of all of this, but you get my point. Third and final match is the no DQ between, and this was like, okay. We're finally seeing a little of aggression from a Joe Henry. And I'm not talking about the beginning or the middle. It was the end when Eric Young brought in that chair and legitimately he's screaming at Eric. This is you. You brought this in. You did this. And he's got him gullied right here. And he's making it so clear that you did this. You caused this. And he allowed himself to be distracted like Ryan did when he was flexing and he was showing off. And even after he chopped at Matt Cardona's throat, he became so distracted he didn't realize that Matt Cardona was going to give him a radio of silence. Here, what did we get for a Joe Henry? Kick to the nuts. I'm not going to use my leg because I can't use my leg. I have to use my arm. I got to go whack. He kicks him in the nuts. Then he gives him a pile driver on the chair and he wins. What does this mean? Does this finally mean this is the first step to see that a Joe Henry's going to turn? I don't know, because they made this more important about the cleanse. Because this is supposed to be his mission, his journey, his, in a sense, redemption, to make sure that TNA is pure, clean, that it doesn't have any more outside influence. He's cleansing everyone. He's going to cleanse absolutely everybody. Now, my question is, will he cleanse the knockouts? I want to see Eric Young cleanse the knockouts as well as cleanse the guys. If he's going to do this, he's going to cleanse the entire TNA roster. He's going to have to cleanse the knockouts too. Either he's going to have matches with them, or without anyone realizing it, he basically pile drives every woman there. Now you're going to say, dude, you can't do it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And if he's going to cleanse everybody, he's got to cleanse the women. And he's also got to cleanse the commentator team. If he's going to cleanse everybody, he's going to cleanse the men, going to cleanse the women, and he's going to cleanse the commentary team who speaks on behalf of TNA eventually. That means the one that's going to take the hit will be Matthew Winwall. That is the one that's Winwall, Matthew. He's got to cleanse him. I don't know if Tom would be willing to take a pile driver or anything, but at least with Matthew, you know he'll do it. Because even though he doesn't wrestle much anymore, he's still in good shape enough that he can take a bump. That's all we got for the matches. Now, this is what we got for the rest of the show. Let me give it to you like this. What they needed was this. This is what WWE does way better than them, but they don't make it feel personal. Let me explain. When you see the vid packs for WWE, you see extreme polish. It almost looks like television or movie quality, mainly more movie quality than television quality. And you can see that it's just lovely, a spectacle. But as we have gone for the last 2 years, where you've seen that the quality was always all over the place when Vince was around. Then when he left, the quality, especially for the vid packs, went up. And once TKO owned it, it stayed up, but you could tell that by the time that Ari was losing his company, in other words, when the shares were being bought up by Silver Lake, because they own 65%, well, 60 to 65% of the shares, you can see something's going on. Don't know what it was, but you knew that the show just didn't feel right. And I said this myself for quite a while. When you look at Raw, you look at SmackDown, they look way too advertised. But JD was fine with it. So was Alex, so was Solomon. So I'm sure Grimm or anybody else, or Fightful, or anyone else were perfectly fine with it, but I wasn't. I felt there was something wrong. It just did not feel right. And by the time Silver Lake took it over, that was the beginning of March, they got it. It's here now. If you don't notice, the quality of the shows just feel very repetitive, formulaic, and worse. You have so many people in the back. Vince never used them. Only when he was in the mood to use them. Only when he wanted to deconstruct them from NXT that Triple H had built and make them the way he wanted. What we have now is not the same as Vince, but it makes you feel like it's Vince. Because you have a huge amount of people on NXT that have in the last year and a half gone to the main roster and then have been released. Well, a few that are left, they're barely shown. Or if they're shown, they're repeating the same stuff over again and over again and over again. And for me, that's not the way it's supposed to be. You had the opportunity to see so many new wrestlers. They've only shown a few that came from the current crop of NXT that originally Vince brought up, like Dragon Lee. Like when it came to the Creeds, when it came to Ivy Nile, and all the others that have been there. Katana Chance and Carter, who I believe Katana Chance is Lacey Lane, who just appeared on I believe her name was Katana Chance, who's now Lacey Lane, her original name, and now she's on AEW TV. You can feel that the wrestling is fine. No one's saying the wrestling is bad. It's the stories that are so boring or highly repetitive. You see the same people in the same spots over and over again. And I said this well before the bloodline was over. If you do not bring people up, by the time the bloodline storyline ends, you're going to have a huge quagmire, a huge problem on your hands. And now we got it. There is no new factions, and there's no new people that are in new positions that make any sense. Bronson Reed was on the roster well before anything happened with Vince leaving. The one that's new is Braun Breaker, but he ain't ready. But they put him there in a faction, which is the wisest thing to do with Paul Heyman. But you look at everyone else. Do you actually feel someone's important? Do you actually believe the Grayson Waller feels important? He doesn't. He's working with New Day. And even though Kofi is now, and I know everyone's saying, I'm sure you're going to say, dude, why are you talking about WWE? Because it goes with TNA. When you see the situation with WWE being very formulaic, very repetitive, most of the time you don't want to see it. And even though this Raw was good, it just, months before, was boring. Now you look at TNA, and I'm going back to TNA, and I'm sorry. You look at how they structured this show particularly. They don't have the huge budget like I was talking about earlier. I know this has been a little longer winded, but it needs to be explained. You look at TNA's budget when it comes to doing vid packs, when it comes to showing spectacle or making you feel like they mean something. They don't have the same quality as WWE. They just don't. But they don't need to. The key here is making it feel organic. Unlike WWE, that's mainly formulaic, that may have great, incredible quality of the production. Here, production's not there, but you feel it. And that's why I went through all of that. When you look at this situation, look at Morris Sage. She wanted to make it very clear how important it was when she joined TNA. When she saw Jazz, and she had a Jacqueline toy, and how she was around the Hardys. And she's well, kind of like me. She's, in a sense, for me, how can I say this? When I was growing up in the 70s and early 80s. For me, I never felt like I fit in. Look, I'm half black, half Puerto Rican. I've never fit in either side. I may act black, but I'm not black. I may be Puerto Rican, but I don't speak Spanish. I never grew up with the culture. So I've always been somewhere like this. Never fit anywhere. You got either sides, I'm here. I always felt like I was cut down the middle. But when I watched pro wrestling, I didn't see white people being wrestling. Or I didn't see a black person like Coco Beware or Junkyard Dog. I just saw wrestlers that meant something to me. Unlike everybody else, and I take nothing from it. Like Mara Sage said, it meant a lot to see women, but women like me. And she's talking about the color of her skin. And I understand that. People are going to see what they're going to see. For me, I didn't see color. I didn't. I just saw people that can make me feel something. And that's what we got from Mara Sage. You may not really think she's a great wrestler. Yeah, she's strong. That is, she just beautiful, great body, everything. And she may not talk great, and she's not a bad wrestler, but not everyone's going to care. But if you looked at her segment, the way she talked, she wanted to make it clear she wanted to be inspiration to others. There's nothing wrong with that. But the way they structured it, it's not about having the most glitz and glamour and making the lighting just perfect. It was just letting her be in front of a camera and just doing her business. And you could say, well, they do that in WWE. Look at Cody Rhodes. Look at Seth Rollins. Yeah, look at them. They're in a big room that's all blackened out with an HD camera. Look at Mara Sage. She's in a room, yeah, darkened, but they didn't have anything special about it. It just looked like a damn room. Unlike them, it was all black. Her, you can see stuff in the back. And it was honesty. Yeah, she might have been overacting just a bit. Doesn't mean that it wasn't true what she was saying. But that's how it felt. Next, the vid packs between the Hardys and the Dudleys. They're setting that up. They let the Dudleys, well, You see Devon's kids, the ones that are grown up, the ones that have not yet, talking about he wants to show them something. You see Jeff's kids, Jeff Hardy's kids, his two daughters. You don't see much other than King Maxwell when it comes to Matt. And you did see a small segment of Bully Ray talking. They want you to understand how special this is. Particularly that it's going to be whoever wins. It's not just going to be TNA champ. That means they're going to be TNA and NXT tag champs. So they've just raised the stakes on this, that whoever is there, they're going to be TNA and they're going to have to defend on NXT. They're going to do that. So they wanted to make it clear that whoever watched this, it is important to understand how special it is. Showing history was important. Showing old vid packs was important. Hearing Jeff's daughters, both of them, talking, that was important to give this more of a general organic feel. It's not meant to be incredibly organic. It's just meant to be general, and that's the goal. You need something to feel organic to give it feeling, to give it form, to give it meaning. And you see this in this. Now, I want to make this clear. I may have talked a lot about WWE and how formulaic they are, but I know what's going on with Seth and Cody. That's not a bad storyline. It's not. They do make it feel organic, but it's one of the few storylines they have. And everything else below it is nothing. And you could see when it comes to this situation in TNA, the story with the system isn't great, but at least there is a story between the system and Order 4. When you see the story between Santana, Trick Williams, look at the opening. Trick comes out, makes it very clear that he does give Santana his props, and I'm going there. But he makes it very clear he ain't no Trick and A. And that's what this is going to be, Trick and A. And then he says simply, when Santana came from the crowd, making it very clear he had a clause way back after deciding to go to rehab. And what did Trick say? He did what a heel does. He makes it very clear, I'm going to send you back to rehab because you're going to learn that you don't know nothing, that you're wrong. And hearing them in Edmonton chant one trick pony, one trick, and he's going like this, guitar in his own belt, was good. It felt more organic, like off the cuff. It's not perfect, and it's not meant to be perfect. It's not meant to be so emotionally investing, but it makes you invested. And during the contract signing, when you see, and it was a little confusing there. Understandable they did do this because it needed to be done. When you see Indy Hartwell with Keanu Jordan, and they're going to sign the contract, you see the Iceman coming out pissed off, saying that he wants the Elegance brand to have their rematch at Bound for Glory. And he demanded them to sign it, signed it. Felt like it could have been done differently. I don't know why. It just felt like it needed to be different. I think maybe if M and Heather were up the ramp and they stayed there and the concierge just power walked himself all the way down there, he gets it signed, and then he walks away with them because he is their manager. I think that might have been better, but it was understandable. And then you get this segment which felt awkward. This is the segment of the entire show that felt awkward, that came from either Kiani or Indy. I don't know how to describe this. When Indy was trying to explain herself, why it meant something to her to get that damn title off of Kiani's shoulders, it felt awkward when Kiani had to explain, look, I understand it, you know me, you helped me when I first started 3 months in the business. When I first came into NXT, you took me under your wing and you taught me. But I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago, which I understand. That worked fine. Her entire segment was fine, but it was weird about Indy. To be honest, if you look at Indy's segment, it was like she was not satisfied with the situation. Now, I'm not telling you that Indy's going to lose at Bound for Glory. I don't know who's going to win. And I'm not even going to try and think about it because I don't like doing predictions. It's been more fun not 100% predicting every single match. And I know everyone else does it. The Slug Daddy used to do it and still did it. When it came to JD, Alex, they are willing to do predictions. I'd rather not because it takes the fun out of guessing. Because I don't want to say it on screen because then I'm thinking about it and I don't want to have any expectations. For me personally, I don't mean to be like other people say, dude, you want a prediction from you. I'd rather have an open mind. That's just me. But when you see Indy and the way that segment came off, it felt like it was very jittery, like something was off. That's just me. They signed the contracts, they finished it up, and that was it. And then Santana was the last thing that mattered. And seeing that it was Conan who spoke, and Conan was the one who was narrating the letter that was in his hand, and that was Santana. He was in the back, in a cage, who had Ortiz's picture there and a couple other people's pictures there, and he was narrating what it meant for Santana to win that title, making it clear that he will be the first Puerto Rican-born TNA champion. I can understand why they went there. Being the first of something can be very important. But I'm going to be honest here. We have Latinos winning that title, mainly Mexican. And for me personally, as many people would say, Latinos are no different. They can be Puerto Rican, they can be Dominican, they can be Spanish, Mexican, Venezuelan, from Venezuela. It don't make a difference. Anyone who speaks Spanish that comes from a Latin country is a Latino. But they wanted to make it very clear, kind of like what happens when it was No Mercy with a Lola Vice, that she would be the first Cubano to win the damn title. I understand they got to be the first of something. But when you're recognized as a group anyway, it kind of takes away from it. Honestly. It does. Particularly if it's done every single time you watch it over and over again. This is not the first time I've seen someone say, this will be the first Latino who wins. It's not. But there's so many Latinos. For me personally, being half Puerto Rican, it doesn't really matter to me. I'd rather see them focus not on... I'll make this clear. Anyone who's Latin who watches this, I'm not saying don't care about being Latin. Don't be about being... let me give it to you like this. See it in the respect that, yeah, you can still love what you are. But don't make it the goal. Make it just a part of the goal. The goal is for Santana to win. Not to win as a Puerto Rican, but to just win because of what he had to go through. He went and had a substance abuse problem, and he kicked it. He came to TNA, he put in the work, and that's what it should be about. Not about him being Puerto Rican and Latin American. I don't care about him being Latin American. I don't even care about him being a damn Puerto Rican. Or being a New Yorker for that matter. I care about Santana as the guy who busted his ass, who had a substance abuse problem, whose real story of making sure that after his dad died and his daughter wanted him to stop drinking for Christmas, he's the one who won it because he earned it. Was this a good show to set up for Bound for Glory? Yeah, I liked it. There were a couple of things I'm like, a little sloppy. Like what happened with Kiani and Indy. And the concierge where I think Heather and well, would it have been better if Em and Heather had been there? For me, yes, maybe you know. But tell me below. Peace.